We in these streets. We in these Kenny Clark defensive streets. Let's get it, man. What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James. You know what it is. Bam, Kenny Clark. We in these Kenny Clark streets. Excuse me. This is a series of probably about 8 plays where you see this defense was all over Barkley. 18 carries, 60 yards. You look how he holds the point of attack. Him, Toya, Osa, Solomon Thomas. But you look at the penetration right here. Look at how he can drive down the line of scrimmage, open up the gaps, open up the gaps for your linebackers to attack. You see, look at that, clog in the middle, making it to where there is no running lanes and no running room for the team. Look at that, get off the ball, making plays, open the door for Sam Williams. This is what we're talking about. This was a real defensive tackle is what you need. When you have something like this that's playing on your team, this makes the whole defensive line better. And I'm glad Kenny Clark is in the fold. What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James, man. You know what it is. We in these work streets. We stay in these work streets. You feel me? Shout out to my son, and got to see my grandson this weekend. It was awesome. I posted some pictures on my Twitter. I love my son. Love my baby, little MJ, my little dog. Shout out to you, son. You're doing great. Just want to give him a shout out. And shout out to my youngest. Got his own crib. Nice little job, doing his thing, just got his car and all that, another car. Shout out to my sons, boy. Y'all are doing it. Shout out to y'all. Love y'all, man. But this is about Kenny Clark, man, and that defense, and a little bit of this preview with the Giants and the Cowboys. First, Kenny Clark. I can't even front, man. He's already paying dividends after that trade with Micah Parsons with the Green Bay Packers. They needed a defensive tackle. They got one in the trade. 2 first-rounders. I wish they would have got a little more, maybe a 3rd-rounder back that they lost in the Pickens trade, I believe. I wish they could have recouped that. But if we're keeping it real, Kenny Clark already made a difference in that first game. We saw what happened with Jalen Hurts, but that wasn't a Kenny Clark thing. He did his job clogging up the middle, clogging up the running lanes, the gaps, forcing the running backs to jump outside where the linebackers can pursue and run them down with minimal gains. I believe they had where it was like 8 rushes. He gained like 1 yard. The running backs, while they were in, when Kenny Clark, 24 rushes run the running backs. When Kenny Clark was in, I believe 15 of those plays, the running backs only averaged 2.5 yards a carry. The 9 plays he was out the game, they averaged 6.4, I believe. So you've seen the market difference. Even when you looked at the highlights at the beginning of this video, you could see where he was clogging the lanes, clogging that middle, the get off. The get off is what I really love. He's quick off the ball, very violent with his hands, very violent player in general, plays very physical, a physical, tough game. Man, a few words. Libra gang, that's the one thing we're talking about. Libra gang, I really love that. But a man, a few words, learned the playbook within the first few days of getting there, was the first one off the bus. He's just about business, and this is the type of defensive tackle that we've been wanting, and the Cowboys finally got. And I feel like he brings up the room. He brings up the rookie Jay Toya, who I thought played pretty well, was pursuing down the line of scrimmage, was clogging the middle. That's the biggest thing. They were clogging the middle where there were minimal running lanes for the running backs. And when there was running lanes, you created enough space for your linebackers to stack and come and blow up the line of scrimmage, pursue, run down the running backs. So I just saw a lot of good positives for Kenny Clark. And as I said, a man of few words, doesn't talk a lot, but it's all about business, and that's what we want. And like I said, he's the type of defensive tackle the Cowboys needed. And you can already see the dividends of what he's already brought to the table. So I would say that there's going to be a lot more good things coming from that. And also, Jadeveon Clowney is visiting the Cowboys right now. I think the Cowboys should make that happen. I like who they have in the building. Obviously, they did miss a Micah Parsons. You saw it. You saw there were a little bit of struggles with rushing the quarterback until they really started putting pressure as far as blitzing. And then you saw Marshawn Nealon, Sam Williams, those guys started taking effect. As I was saying, Solomon Thomas, those guys really, I just feel like Kenny Clark really brings up the whole room and is going to make everybody else better and that whole defensive line better. And you saw it in that Philly game because that's a pretty good offensive line. Barkley only ran for 60 yards. Shipley only had one long run, but he wasn't getting a lot of carries. So kudos to Kenny Clark. He's been a great addition already, and I think he's going to be a great addition the whole year. I think I mentioned Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney is visiting the Cowboys. Cowboys need to do that signing because I think he had 5.5 sacks, and they've been flirting with that for years with him. And with the loss of Micah Parsons, as I said, because we was in these streets, so I had to pause. But you saw how they were missing Micah Parsons, a guy who could just get after the passer. Get after the quarterback. That's what Clowney does. So in the short term, he's not going to cost no money. He's going to help that room make that happen. And as far as we're talking about with the matchup with the Giants and the Cowboys, first I want to talk about Mazi Smith. I said in my Twitter, once he's removed from Dallas, because I think his time is up now, is about to be up. This will probably be his last year with Dallas, my opinion. Anyway, just imagine if he was starting that game against Philly and they didn't have that real defensive tackle. That'd have been bad business. He probably would have ran all over Dallas, right? And I just feel like, it was a bad pick. You feel me? It was a bad pick, and hopefully he can come in as a rotational player. But you see the difference, right? Anyway, in this Giants game, you saw they played the Commanders. They put up 6 points. Russell Wilson, I don't think, threw over 50% of his passes, completed 50% of his passes. Tracy, who was a young rookie last year, basically had no yards rushing. He had like 27 yards, I believe, in that game. Commanders' defense is a lot older, too. I think they're one of the oldest defensive lines out there, or defenses. And they pretty much shut him down. Russell Wilson is not the guy anymore. And my main thing is you can really stop this run against them because that offensive line with the Giants is atrocious. It's not good. It hasn't been good in a while. And Cowboys seem to feast year in and year out on that offensive line. I think this is no difference. Even if you are missing a Parsons, I think like maybe a rookie like Ezra Rock who gets a sack. I like James Houston. I like the way he puts pressure on the ball. Dante Fowler maybe eats. Sam, Nealon. I think this is a game where the guys all eat in this game. And put constant pressure on Wilson. You saw in the second half of the game against the Eagles, they started bringing more pressure. I think the pressure was up like 43% in the second half, and it made a huge difference in the way the Philadelphia's offense was running. So I definitely feel like you need to pressure Russell Wilson. He's not really the scrambling quarterback he used to be. He tends to hold the ball a little bit longer now, and I feel like he starts to see the pressure now more. And so I just feel like you just really got to dial up that pressure against him and that Giants offense. Malik Neighbors is going to get his touches. He's going to get the ball. You got to limit him, but now you got a Diggs back, so that makes it better. And that you saw that cornerbacks, they limited A.J. Brown. They limited that receiving core. So that'll bode well for the Cowboys. And also, this needs to be a George Pickens game. I said that immediately after this game because I felt the body language was not good in that game. And to keep him mentally checked in and not checked out, CeeDee Lamb is the man, and we all know he's the man. He's going to get the ball. You feel me? CeeDee should know that. But this is a game, Pickens got to get that ball early, often. He's got to be targeted often because he needs to see that to keep his mind right for the rest of this campaign. As I said before, this needs to be a George Pickens game. He needs to be involved early. There's a reason why you got him. You need to use him. We know about CeeDee Lamb. We know what CeeDee Lamb can do. We ain't tripping off them drops. I was tripping game time, but we ain't tripping because he's going to get past that. But George Pickens needs to get the ball. You got him for a reason. You need to use him. He is a volatile guy. I'm not saying you got to appease him, but you got to keep him mentally checked in this game. So he needs to see that ball early and often, and this is a game he can totally dominate. And get him feeling good. Get him feeling great. Get him feeling right. Get him his swag back. You feel me? So that needs to be a game. I like to see Jadon Blue, but y'all the NFL coaches, and I'm not. But I like to see that speed element in there. But I think that's it for me. I think the Cowboys bounce back. They go 1-1 in their division. They go 1-1 in their record as they head to Chicago. But I think this is a game early. The Giants play it tough because that defensive line that they have, Abdul Carter, they got Brian Burns, they got Thibodeau, they got Dexter Lawrence. So that's going to be a challenge for the young offensive line of the Cowboys. They played great that first game. I told you about Tyler Booker. I thought the big three played very well. Tyler Guyton, but this is going to be another challenge. But I said this is going to be one of the best offensive lines within the next couple of years. They're one of the youngest offensive lines in the league right now. But this is another great test for them. I think maybe that action gets at them early in the game, but then it settles down. They play the game tough, but then I feel like the Cowboys start pulling away late in the second quarter, third and on, and I think this ends up being like a 28-17 game, 35-17 game. Cowboys pull it out. George Pickens needs to have a big game, period. Make it happen. I'm done. Tell me what y'all think. Big Game James. I'm out. Peace.